to start just quickly asking a question. Dana, this is a huge undertaking for a community theater. Not only in scope, but in finding such an amazing, talented cast, a production design that's one of the best I've seen here, and evoking performances from your cast and your staging. How did this choice come to you? How did you even conceive? How did you even have the bravery to put this on?
Echo. I have had a love affair with Shakespeare for a very long time. Man, this echo is going to be annoying, isn't it? In my earlier life, I was directing down in Los Angeles, including a fair amount of directing Shakespeare. So I've had this draw to it. When I heard about this play, I actually tracked it down and have seen a couple other productions of it. But always felt like the way I saw it done wasn't the way I wanted to see it done. So I am not afraid of bigger shows. I've done a lot of them, and I enjoy that element of it. I also like to do musicals, so those are usually a bigger scale as well. But this time I don't have to share with choreographers and music directors. I get the actors all to myself. So there was little things. There's 27 speaking roles in this show. And some theaters choose to do it with only 10 actors, and I have always found that ends up confusing the audience very much. I was hoping for 16 actors, but knowing that if I didn't have the level of the people that I needed for the show, that I would pare that down as much as I needed to. But I had an absolute extraordinary turnout for auditions. People that I have walked in on this and haven't done a show for years and years and decided to come back with this one, and now they're in the cast and doing spectacularly. Not only is this cast extraordinarily dedicated, extraordinarily talented, I think also being a majority of more mature actors, we have a lot of people with a lot of years under their belts, and that's making a big difference as well. There's no drama. Everybody loves each other. That sounds like it's gone now. And so it has been an extraordinary pleasure. Everyone's working off of each other so beautifully, and everybody fell in love with the piece and wanted to make it the best they absolutely could. And they did anything I asked of them. It was extraordinary. And, some of the weird things I did, like, making poor Ed, the stage manager, have to deal with the dancers and deal with the sword fighters and that's all stuff I made up and put him through. So, there's putting a sheet on her back, just weird things that I did, but everybody was game for whatever I threw at them. So it's been an amazingly joyous and exciting rehearsal process, and I keep coming back and I keep seeing more and more new little nuances, more depth between the characters, more depth of character, and the way they're playing off of each other just keeps growing and growing. I don't know if that answered you, but I did talk for a while, so.
It does, but beyond that, you mentioned how they keep growing and growing. Now, as you come back and see it week after week, do you have what directors all get, trust me, is the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Why didn't I? I could have done this. I could have done that. Do you have experiences of that Does the cast at times have places where, oh, why didn't I think of that? Have you as a cast grown under the repetitive performances? I mean, if you think about it, what is acting? And by definition, it is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances and doing it over and over and over again. and yet you manage to grow within these roles. So I throw this question open to anyone up here. How has the play grown for you?
I think that I find that you tend to fill in the moments. When you first learn it, you're hitting your lines and what's happening with the lines each time. And then as you get to do it more, you get to find those moments in between. And that only comes with time with actors on stage. And we were laughing, like if you were doing it professionally, right, you wouldn't even be through previews yet. You would still be playing it out. And so I see the richness coming in between the lines the most right now. So
Something with the mic.
I just want to say, can we try without the microphone? Because we're doing a lot of it. It's hard. I don't know about the cast.
It's actually better without the microphone.
Okay.
Or this one works.
yeah.
Well,
That's your echo.
see?
I'll pass it around. How about I pass it around?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
So,
There we go.
was anybody else going to answer that question?
Anyone?
This group we have here is phenomenal. And we've grown as friends, we've grown as just people that have come to know each other. And when you're first handed the script, there's the lines. You deal with those for 5 to 6 weeks, and then you start playing off of each other, and that's when the fun begins. And as the play progresses from week to week, from performance to performance, you become freer, you become more courageous because you know and you trust your fellow actors to be there with you. And that doesn't happen in the beginning. It takes time. And I'm getting chills right now just thinking about this cast. But we've been having such a wonderful time, and I think that's what it is. It's the magic of getting to know each other, trusting each other, and working with each other in a way where you don't get to do it in the real world. We see each other, every day just about, get to know each other, and it's a magical time. It really is.
Can I add to that? Speaking of which, yes, I've literally fallen in love with everybody here. It's amazing. And because of that, I would say there is no shoulda, woulda, couldas, because I feel like all my needs have been met on stage since the read-through. Like every day I feel fulfilled, and content in this play because everybody is meeting that need that I want as an actor personally. And that goes beyond this play even too. It's just the connections that I made individually. I just want to add to that. Thank you.
You can feel that as an audience, and I must say congratulations. I've lived in this community for 45 years and taught high school in Shakespeare, and this is the best thing I have ever seen here. Congratulations.
Oh,
thank
you.
But I too am lovely Shakespeare, and the lines that you delivered, everything, your interaction, your connection to each other, your devotion is seen, it's felt, and I have never been more proud as an audience as I have been today. And I'm a Broadway lover, sophisticated and embarrassed for the unsophistication in this community because they don't appreciate the brilliance that you've all shown on this stage. So congratulations.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as a younger actress and the youngest in the cast, that it has been such an honor to get to work with everybody and to get to know everybody. This is my first play that I've done here, and I'm really looking forward to so many more, and with all of these wonderful people who I know have more years under their belt than I do for sure, but I've enjoyed every second of this experience, and getting to know Dana as well. She's been so lovely to work with, and I think everyone shares that sentiment that this is just the best. This is just the best, and I can't believe that we get to have this much fun all the time.
I would say,
Kevin?
one of the most difficult things about this play is there are so many, is the tone. Because you have comedy and you have tragedy. Normally you come to see one or the other. You don't often to come to see such a mix. And yet we laughed and we cried. I think that how was that, Dana? Again, as a director, I keep coming back to you. How do you deal with all the various themes that go on? The themes of preserving history. You almost have a play within a play here, because you have the real history being preserved, and yet the play itself is preserving that history.
Yes. I mean, one of my favorite things to see or to be a part of in theater is something that does ride the gamut of human experience, has the highs, has the lows. But I think one of the things that ties the theme together, and that I think the author did so beautifully, is create that sense of the long-term relationships between good friends, between family, between marriages. And everyone knows that when you're with somebody for decades, whether as a friend or as a partner, that you will ride very high highs and very low lows with them. And I think that element of character is what allows for the real change and the roller coaster of themes that the play has. And that was also one of the things that attracted me to it very much. It was interesting because we had an extraordinary turnout of men to come to the auditions. And as much as I tried to get it out there, everyone assumed it was a male show. But it is written by a woman. And it is written by a woman who understands women and wrote well for women. And so I always said, the men drive the action, but it's the women who anchor it. And so that was an extraordinary ride, and it was interesting to see that, a lot of the women stayed away from auditions. And now they're coming back to me like, I should have auditioned for that. Yes, you should have. But since I got beautifully who I needed, it wasn't a problem, but it was a conundrum, because we find in this community we tend to have a lot more women. But for set construction or for everything? From everything?
The question is, how much time from casting to performance do you have to put this all together?
We cast it in March. We tend to do 2.5 hour rehearsals Monday through Thursday, and then maybe a 3 or 4 hour rehearsal on one weekend day. So it's not a ton of time per week, but we do a little over 2 months between. Wonderful.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Okay. But, so I just want to comment that Dana, when she makes the decision to do something, she begins the process at least a year in advance. So she was studying that play. She was deeply diving into that play. She developed the set. She came up with the costume concepts. And who she saw in these roles. And I just have to say, that is a really wonderful experience as an actor, to work with a director who has committed so much time to a piece, who understands it, and who has visions for your character, but also allows you the ability to discover who it is with a little bit of help along the way. And I think we all would agree that she was a tremendous director for us in terms of knowing the piece, knowing what she envisioned. Envisioning it is huge. And we're just really lucky she decided to include us on her ride.
I found it very interesting what you said, because really observing, this is my second time I've seen it. And today was really the first time I really noticed how much and I wonder historically how true this probably was, that the women behind the men were the driving force, and yet the men get all the credit. So much true in real life. Questions? Yes.
Okay, congratulations everyone.
Thank you.
And I'm just curious how some of you now may relate to Shakespeare's work personally, and if that's shifted from being in this show.
The question is how cast, open question, how would you relate to Shakespeare's work now more than before?
I'll pass to Michael.
This is my first,
Hold it closer to your mouth.
this is my first real experience in a Shakespearean production, other than acting in one of his plays. And Dana made it so easy and accessible, and now I'm not afraid to approach a role, audition for a role in a Shakespeare play. She gave us all the background, even the ensemble players, where I played 6 parts. You didn't hear me except in the last one. And yet I felt such a part of this company. It was a thrill. It was a real experience. And I learned so much. She prepped us, especially in the early performances, with all the history behind all the scenes, behind all the characters. And you become absorbed into her narrative and into the narrative of the play. And it was just wonderful working with all these people, all these actors who put everything into it. And I just want to thank them. Thank you all.
Michael has one.
This is this show. I haven't done a show in about 8 years, and this was a reintroduction to me of Shakespeare. My very first acting thing that I did was Shakespeare, Midsummer, which is still to this day my favorite Shakespeare, which is the little moment on stage there, which is very cool, between the 2 little young lovers. But Shakespeare, it's a living word. It's not something that's dead. You know, once you learn the words and you play the truth of those characters, they become as real as anything you see on the silver screen. And that's the beauty of the man after almost 500 years.
I was going to answer the question too. If you've ever been in a place where you feel like if they find out, then you're going to get kicked out. For probably the first 2 months, I didn't say to anybody, I don't think I've read any Shakespeare. I've had English classes. I know somewhere I read something English. But
no wonder you like Pericles.
But graciously, as I felt like a mouse coming out, like, I really haven't read much. I don't know much. These guys have been great all around in educating me and shaming me just in the good way. These guys, you're not in the same dress as these guys. But I really felt like it's actually been very freeing to me, because now I've been afraid of Shakespeare, quite honestly. Like, I feel like I don't want to understand it, but I feel like now I have a door that's open to me, and I'm very excited to walk through and see what's out there and kind of come to my own understanding of it. So it's been exciting for me.
Question? Yes.
So it is about Shakespeare, but there's so many moments throughout the play, specifically in the very first scene of Act 2, and then of course at the end, the final scene. So that actually have such a meta commentary on just acting and in theater in general.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out how each
I'm definitely going to jump in on this. I'm glad I was holding the mic. I thank you for asking this question, honestly, because personally, what I love so much about this play, well, there's a million things, but one of the things I truly love is that it is itself a love letter to theater, and what it has meant to people for, generations and generations. And I think that whenever I get to come back and be Alice again every performance, I feel so lucky and so fortunate to be a part of a story that not only is, as Don mentioned, it's preserving the history of this and telling that story again, but that we get to share that we love theater and the plays, it says that message. We get to act out that message and the importance of these characters' lives, but then personally to us, each and every one of us, the way that theater has impacted our lives, we do bring that truth into it. We have to. And then I would hope that that love and appreciation and importance is imparted on the audience, and that they can take from it what matters most to them, especially, as you mentioned, the scene at the top of Act 2 between John and Henry, and that gets me every time, no matter how many times I hear it, just the beautiful sentiment shared about, why we do it. That's what we call the scene even. We call it Why We Do It. And it's true, and it's a very special thing. Anyway, who else wants to talk about this?
So for me, my entire family is from Stratford-on-Avon, where this whole play is set. So this is a play that I'm deeply connected to, and the sentiment that John and Henry share in that very first scene, and the sentiment that we all share in the end of within the final scene, I think it's beautiful, and I think acting brings us with so many people that we would maybe see at the bus stop or pass in a restaurant, and we wouldn't even notice, we wouldn't think twice to talk to them. And I think it's beautiful, and it always makes me cry when John starts quoting Shakespeare, because that's the only way that he can express himself. And I relate to that personally. It's really hard to open up, but when you do it through a character, then you're not yourself. And I think that is almost the truest form of expression. It's expressing yourself through the lens of someone else and learning what it's like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. And I love it. So that's my opinion.
I would say, to a certain extent, it's almost easier when you're in the leading roles, because you have a lot to play, you have a lot to flesh out. But what was really fascinating to me is every role had their place. Paul, as Marcus, is the audience. He's playing the part of us, kind of critically saying, "Oh, I don't know if I like this stupid play," and Jim being comic relief, shall we say, in every scene, bringing his comic abilities to this. The town crier in the audience, throughout, and I do have a question though. What's the significance of apples, pears, and nuts?
Figs and nuts.
I missed figs and nuts.
Can you hear me? John and who am I? Rebecca. John was a grocer, and he started. I was reading about this. There's not much about Rebecca as far as when you look up history, but there's some things about John Hemmings, where when he was young, he worked for a grocer, and as he got older and got many years under his belt, he then was, what do they call it? He then became he was an apprentice, but later he became a freeman and was able to have his own grocery place. So he and Rebecca ran this grocery place together. At the same time, he was very actively involved with William Shakespeare's plays. And
the town
yeah, and
house.
so they were very, what am I trying to say? They worked alongside each other. to make this work, because he also then became the manager of the theater as well. So
Can
that's
I have something to add to that. When you dig in, it's actually fascinating. One of the reasons I think they made such a beautiful love story between John Hemmings and Rebecca Hemmings is it's just from little clues that the author was able to find. And one of those clues was when John Hemmings, in his will, specified that he had to be buried next to his wife. And so you have these just little glimmers of history. And when you go back and read about these people, you find that most of the glimmers of what we can still find are in this play. Shakespeare did give his 3 friends rings, bequeathed them in his will. That's in the play. There's lots of little historical touches that, obviously the dialogue and all of that is made up, but the actual story and structure and the people who are filling this play are actually historically accurate. And so that has been really, really fun. And, all of a sudden, so Richard Burbage was the first Hamlet, was the first Othello, was the first Lear. He was the first of all of those. And you always imagine this bear of a man, and then you read about him, and he's kind of short and portly, and it's like, really? How did that happen? Sorry.
I don't know what happened.
So, and that, John Hemmings ran a tap house, ran a grocery, ran the Globe Theatre. He was everywhere. But Shakespeare, Burbage, Hemmings, and Condell were the co-owners of the Globe Theatre. So, and that whole story about tearing the Globe down and moving it across the river to avoid rent, they absolutely did that. The fire that destroyed everything, that actually happened. So all the little historical moments in the show are actually based on what we know of the historical record.
Last couple questions? Yes?
I never saw Pericles. Why was that
Tell us why Pericles is such an important subplot.
Shakespeare didn't write it by himself. It was written it was co-written.
Wilkins.
It was co-written. It actually did get added to the 3rd folio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a tragic comedy, and it's a little Greeky. Actually, opens up with the riddle. Do you know what the riddle is?
Yeah.
It's
really creepy.
I can't quote it, but it's basically.
Yeah, it's really creepy. The king, you want to win. The king has this riddle where you have to answer what the riddle is, so you can win his daughter. But the riddle is that he's been having an affair with his own daughter.
Oh.
And so if you get it wrong, you get killed. But if you get it right, he's going to kill you. So it's very Greeky.
Don't ask why my character likes that.
Yeah. And it's a series. It's actually a little series of stories that this guy goes through, who actually knew the answer to the riddle, and he escapes. Then he goes through another adventure, and then he goes through another adventure. So it's actually an interesting story. But it was co-written with this other author, and actually the Kingsmen say that Shakespeare only wrote about a third of it, or something.
And
like that.
and Wilkins, because I say that to him, I said I think that Wilkins wrote it, and he did. But Wilkins was a really creepy guy. He ran like this brothel, and he was kind of like a pimp, and he was not a quality guy. So
Look at the knowledge they have of even the characters who aren't in the play. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Oh.
Listen.
Yes.
Last?
Well, since Dana was bringing up such the historical stuff, did you have someone doing the dramaturgical work? Were you the person in charge of the historical stuff for everything? Did everybody, in terms of the actors, did you research your own characters? What was the process for that?
Did you as actors research your own characters, or was Dana the one filling you in? Or both?
I'd say Dana did a lot of the early heavy lifting, but I did deep dives on my character and some of the others, and it was fun to come in and be like, did you know you die 4 years after this? yeah. Sorry, Isaac. But you're like, it's fun how some of the histories that aren't in the play, that don't make it in, that occur later still inform you of your character. I outlive most people. Yes. But my kids get me in trouble. They always do. But it was fun to be able to come in and be like, did you know that when we got married, I was the rich one? And like, and the sharing of the connections and the actual history. You know, we were talking about in the play, we separate the comedies and the tragedies and the histories. And this play is a history, which we don't often have that many plays that are actual histories anymore. Not like this. There's action, but there's no time. Time is the villain here. I mean, that's the one thing that is really that we're fighting against. There's no boogeyman that is gonna curse us all. It's time, and that's the most real thing ever. And that's with a lot of history. A lot of even Shakespeare's history is time is the villain.
And it's a wonderful thing that so much of this it has been preserved because soon ChatGPT will be rewriting it all. Yes.
I had never heard of the Book of Will before, and all I was thinking of this Book of Mormon.
She thought she was here to see Book of Mormon.
Ready? Here we go. 2 by 2. We're going door to door.
Anyway, it's just been so interesting to find out this is historically true. You know, I didn't know what I was going to be seeing, and then to be here for this part of it has made it even more meaningful. I mean, wow, thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you.
Well, listen, thank you all for coming. And
yes, thank you.
Spread the word.
3 more shows?
Spread the word. They have 3 more shows next weekend. They'd love to fill the house. So
we would.
Please go online, let your friends know, or come back another time. Either way, we want to fill the house.
We do.
Any last comments?
We have one more question.
There was a question over here.
Yes.
So my question was, at the end, when you did all those Shakespeare, monologues and stuff like that, were those already in the script, or were they chosen?
Okay.
Everybody points.
What a great question.
It is. Actually, the author leaves it completely open. So suggests, it can be just sounds of different lines coming in. It can be however you want it to be. But the choice of how it's staged and exactly which Shakespeare is going to be used is I got to do that, and it was really fun. So it was actually one of the real joys of the piece is getting to. I actually started the Scottish play was the first play I ever directed, which is crazy. And so I started with Shakespeare, and the modern tradition is if you want to cut something, if you want to rearrange it. I mean, Shakespeare's not going to complain. There's no royalties. You can do whatever you want. But then I moved into the world of modern royaltied plays, and it. There's so many limits on what you can do. They don't want you to change a word. And to have the end of this play be wide open to do with as you want is an extraordinary gift. And I enjoyed it immensely. And it was fun to go okay, this one's a good one for him. And this one, But trying to pull out things that are mentioned in the show, trying to have the flow of it go, we kind of go light, love, then we kind of go into dark and revenge, then we come up for mercy, then, to try to find a flow of that. It was really, really fun.
So that was you making those choices then, not the cast weighing in on, I want to do...
No, they were all like, sure, that sounds fun.
It was great. It was great to watch you put the pieces with the actors, so that the actor's character, the piece reflected it. Merchant of Venice or whatever. So it was masterfully done.
It was fun.
Well, congratulations to you all. Hopefully, we'll see you all next week. And,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
We can applaud them.
Yeah.